and a hammer.
Oh, I gotta really try hard.
Shut it down!
Somehow it's the best.
After the credits.
A Yum Chunks podcast.
Yum Chunks!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of After the Credits. I'm Sean, your host, and with me is the whole crew. We got Vince.
Hey, everybody.
And Chris.
Hello.
And Ryan.
Yay.
And Matt.
Matt Chewiwie, here I am. There you go.
You're here. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening in. We actually have a kind of different episode for you now, a little special episode. We're not going to be talking about a movie or a TV show. You may have noticed that we haven't posted any episodes in a couple weeks, actually. It's probably been close to maybe 2 months even.
Yeah, it's been over a month. I think it was mid-February.
Well, it was the 2018 recap.
Oh, it was mid-January when we did the Chunkies. It was like the second or third week of January.
So good. Yeah, almost 2 months, at least 6 weeks. But that is due to a very good reason. And we're going to get into that in this episode. Like I said, it's a special episode. We're not going to be talking about any movies or anything because one of us, something really kind of close to home, happened to our friend Matt, and we wanted to take this opportunity to basically allow Matt to kind of tell the story, and kind of let all the listeners know what his experiences were. So, yeah, Matt, I mean, well, it's obviously a kind of tricky subject, I suppose, but I think I think it's really cool just that you're willing to and open to talk about it.
Well, talking on this podcast is like a really fun and really soothing pastime. Like it's just fun to kind of, just kind of have the time to talk to you guys. Just for fun. That's why we do this in the first place. So this is a good thing for me to do right now. So, but anyway, so if you listen to our Chunkies episode, I made a very, very ominous comment. Sean, roll the clip here.
All right, play the clip.
All right. Okay, Sean.
Yeah.
I despise you
for
bringing
Wish
Kid into my life. I hate you.
Wait, for bringing
my
what?
hate knows no bounds for bringing Wish Kid into my life.
Did you actually start watching it?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Again, to remind the listeners, for those who haven't listened to every episode recently, my wife and I have been watching through every piece of like Macaulay Culkin fiction that we could find. And we watched the other night, we watched Getting Even with Dad. I don't know if any of you guys remember that movie.
I do not.
But anyway, Wish Kid. Saturday morning cartoon from the 90s starring Macaulay Culkin, and the cartoon is just bad animation and screaming the entire time. And I hate it.
Well, you're welcome. My gift to you.
I will never forgive you for this. I mean, I've never had cancer, but I can't imagine it's this bad. Okay. Yeah, so apparently when I said that, surprise, I had brain cancer. Oh boy. So the thing is that I stick by it. Watching Wish Kid is still worse.
If you take nothing from this episode, listeners, take that.
Don't go buy the DVD of Macaulay Culkin's cartoon Wish Kid. It'll give you brain cancer, apparently. Apparently, it's the same thing. No, so anyway.
Well, yeah, that's the news then, I guess. You kind of hit it right on the head there.
Literally,
yeah.
No pun intended, right?
Yeah. You to the shock of kind of everyone, have brain cancer.
Right.
What the hell?
I know, the world. That's crazy, man. It's wacky. Yeah. So that's what we're doing here. I'm going to tell my story and just talk about what the last few weeks of my life have been like, because it's not a few weeks that I was ever expecting to have to go through, and it's there are more weeks and time ahead, so it's a little weird. So I think I've told my bits of my story to a lot of people, and we have a GoFundMe that has updates that happen regularly. So a lot of the story's out there, but I think it would just be fun to kind of talk about it, decompress.
Yeah. Well, we're all here, and I'm glad we all made it this episode,
Yeah.
because I think we're all like, we have been as much as possible. I think they're kind of hearing your experience the last couple of weeks, but to all be here and kind of listen to you tell it yourself, I think for me anyway is I don't know, it's important. So
yeah. So why don't you start me off, huh? Let's get.
Yeah. So, I mean, this was not something you were aware of. You, like you're saying, you were making jokes about it until it just kind of hit one day, and you were in class, you were at work teaching, and yeah, just kind of describe what kind of happened.
Well, the thing is that actually, and this is a lesson that everybody should take, by the way. If you have access to healthcare, you need to use it. You need to get regular checkups, and if there's anything weird going on, you have to investigate it. That's the thing that I wish I'd learned sooner. I'm a very stubborn person. It runs in my family. It's going to the doctor sucks, but if anything's off, you have to check it. And the reason I say that is because I actually had been having headaches. So, and it's like, it would range from like this. I've never had one this bad, but all the way down to just like a regular sinus headache. So, that's something that the doctor was like, hey, maybe we should check that out. And I should have checked it out sooner than I did. So that's one thing. But yeah, I was in class. I had had a headache that evening. It woke me up in the middle of the evening, like at 2:30 in the morning, and I never actually got back to sleep. And so I was having kind of not a great day, and I was kind of like, with my tech class, my tech kids, they are working on projects and they're building things, and I was kind of like, hey, you guys, like, I'm having headaches today, so can you? I'm gonna supervise. If you guys need anything, let me know. But I'm gonna be taking it easy today. And I got through the class, and then at the beginning of the next class, I was standing in front of the class, and I was getting ready to start talking, and I was, about to start giving directions for the day, and I like started throwing up, and I just didn't know what was going on, and one of my students like ran over and grabbed a bucket, and then like said, hey, you go get the nurse, you go get the principal, and just like immediately was on it. What happened is I had started having a seizure, and from there I started, and this is the weirdest thing. I started having gaps in my memory, and I've never had gaps in my memory. Like there are only little like second long clips in between, during this time from when I started having the seizures to when I at some point in the hospital. And that is, I don't know. Have you guys ever experienced like any kind of memory loss to that level? Or
Yes.
I mean, after a lot of alcoholic beverages.
Oh, okay.
But that's about the only time I can think of.
Yeah, that's kind of different. Though I've fainted before, but even that I feel is different because you're you're unconscious and you wake up and you're like, oh, I know what had happened.
Right.
I wasn't like missing memories.
Yeah.
There was a point, maybe 6 to 8 years ago, where I also had, I think I was dehydrated. I don't know what it was in the end, but yeah, I was super bad headache and I was vomiting. I couldn't focus, and then they took me to the hospital. I remember they were asking me a bunch of questions like what my date of birth was and stuff like that, and I couldn't answer it.
Yeah, they were doing the same thing to me. They actually did that for like most of my hospital stay. But it's weird, right? Like the fact that your brain can just turn off.
I mean, I remember being frustrated more than anything because it's such basic knowledge and not being able to kind of access it.
Right, exactly. It's just a strange feeling that you don't have, that there are just like science, biological things in your body that can just like turn the brain off. It's done. You don't have that function anymore. That was the trippiest thing about that part of the experience for me, because I do remember pieces. Apparently, like I said something really weird in the class, like when they were taking me away. I asked somebody, one of the teachers, if I was in trouble. Like this is what I told. So like some kind of like primitive child part of my brain kicked in for 1 second. Yeah. And then I remember them checking for my wallet in the ambulance, and they found my insurance card, and apparently that changed which hospital I went to. So like apparently they rerouted. Yeah, I mean, healthcare is kind of weird. So apparently that changed entirely where I went to and what doctor I had, and weird. So
yeah, if you're like in network, like, oh,
yeah, exactly. So like, wait, they were
in.
like, check to see if he has a card, and they took my wallet. I don't remember if I pulled the wallet out of my pocket or not. I can't remember. There's a part of my brain that thinks I did, or that they helped me, or I don't know. But apparently that changed things. I don't remember a lot of the ride. I remember my wife may have showed up shortly after I got to the hospital, and I remember asking, can we have a Nintendo Switch now? Which
of everything that
I remember asking if we can now have a Nintendo Switch.
And what do you have now?
Now I have a Nintendo Switch, and I'm going to talk about that later. Anyway, that was the weirdest thing. I have like very specific random pieces of memories, but the fact that there was this whole like that must have, from when I started seizing to when I was in the hospital normal-ish again, several hours, and it feels like 10 minutes. I feel like combined in just little bits and pieces, which is very strange.
I think I remember when I was visiting you one time, or since I've seen you since then, you were describing even like in the classroom, in your mind, you remember saying something, but the kids were saying that you were just making noises or something.
I don't know. I don't know that.
Or maybe that was one of your sisters, or Maeve had mentioned that to me.
Possibly, yeah.
But even that too is where it's like your brain, or you think your brain is thinking it's doing something, and you're like, I'm telling everyone to calm down or whatever.
Exactly.
But in reality, you're like, I don't know, spazzing out, or I don't, you know what I mean? Like the kind of weird dissonance between the two is so strange.
It's weird too, because the brain as an organ, like we've learned so much about it, science community, but there's also, it's still like the most baffling, organ. It's crazy how much we know and we don't about it, and just the fact that like that kind of experience can happen. It's very strange to me. It's still really surreal. Yeah. So that part of the experience, again, lots of missing pieces, but anyway, yeah. So
obviously it's scary and intense, and I can't imagine. Actually, it's funny. That's not funny, but I kind of can't imagine being a student in your classroom, because this is kind of off topic. But when I was in second grade, I had a substitute teacher who had a stroke in our classroom, and like as kids. But I remember the way you describe your kids. Your students are high school students, so it's a different age group. But I remember that same kind of like. That I don't know, that kicked in where like we were second graders, but a couple of us were like, okay, you guys go run and get the teachers, and you guys go do this, and you guys like just like I don't know, there's some sort of instinct that kicks in. You're like, oh wait, this is serious. We have to like this. We're not going to go play Legos because the teacher's on the ground.
I had an incident happen maybe just like 2 or 3 weeks ago at Costco where a guy actually had a seizure in the front of our store, and he just went straight down on the back of his head, and our floors are just solid concrete, so. It was not pretty, and I remember I was like one of the first people that got to him, so I was just like, people were already kind of gathering around. I was just yelling to everybody in the building if there was a doctor, and there was somebody already calling 911, but it was just like, you kind of just react.
Well, regardless, I just think it's kind of amazing though that your students were able to like,
right.
react and function and get things taken care of and not panic and like all that stuff.
Yeah, well, that's one of many reasons why I'm really proud of them right now, which I'll get into kind of later on. But yeah, just the fact that the students have really stepped up and handled things that they need to handle in in every type of extreme situation that has come up, both when I passed out and the fact that I haven't been around and they have things to do. So. But yeah, we can talk a little bit about what happens next if you want.
So you were in the ambulance, and a couple hours later, you're in the hospital.
Yes. So again, a lot of memory blanks, but I remember kind of just being on the hospital bed, and I remember them doing things like putting IVs in, and like, doing giving me shots, and like kind of doing all this like science stuff, but I was not really that aware of what was happening. And I remember I was aware of them kind of talking about it. And they're like, I remember hearing them say, oh, he's got a tumor. We have to take it out. And there's just like a very small part of my brain that's registering what's going on. Like kind of just like, oh, they're going to cut my head open. What? Like, what is it? Like, and then at the same time, I also going, oh, okay, the headaches make sense. Like, but these thoughts are such like floaty, cloudy, like barely thoughts that my brain is operating on this weird, crazy, just like a different like level of reality. And then eventually I kind of like, I think once they put me in my room and I kind of realized what was going on, and I started to become more coherent at that point. But yeah, so they found a tumor, and they were, so I don't know if it's a regular tumor or if it's a cancer. We got to cut it out. We got to look at it. And so on Saturday, I think this happened on, was it Thursday? I believe this is the first day that happened. They're like, okay, Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon, we're taking him in for surgery. So there was, those few days are the times that I don't remember the most. And it was like when I was the most heavily like kind of like really on the IV. And I know during that time they put me in MRI machines and CAT scan machines, and I don't really remember that either, which is good because I get claustrophobia. And they had to do one more before the surgery and one more right after the surgery, and I do remember those. And that was no good because it was like shoving me like a giant hot dog into a too small hot dog bun, because I'm a big person. So like I didn't cleanly slide in like on TV. Like they had to kind of like squish me in there.
They had to lift you up first?
Yeah, they had to rub me in Crisco first before they did that. No, but like it was like they only had to scan my head, so they didn't actually have to shove me all the way in. But it was like my shoulders scrunched up like a hot dog.
Oh yeah.
So they were like, okay, just smash them in there. So that was a nightmare because it's like loud and flashy, and I've got no room, and it's like 20 minutes long, and there's no way to know how much time is passing. So someone with anxiety and claustrophobia a little bit, like I was like, yeah, okay, I'm ready to get out of the Willy Wonka tube. I did unfortunately remember the one immediately before the surgery. And then going into the surgery, it was the weirdest thing because I was like, the doctor's like, yeah, we need your signature so we can do the surgery. And I remember being really out of it, but I remember going, oh, what are the risks? And he goes, well, you could get a stroke. And I went, well, what else can I do? And I signed the paper. I do remember saying that. Apparently I asked more questions according to Maeve, but I don't remember which questions I asked. But I do remember going, oh, what? Okay. All right.
It's actually funny because one of the times I was visiting you, it was before the surgery on that Saturday morning.
I remember
I think
that.
it was the first time. And I don't think it was that necessarily paperwork, but they did come in with paperwork that you had to sign, and you were just like, what? And like, you're like barely capable of like writing, legible, and it's just like they're like, yeah, that's good, all right. How was that?
Yeah, things are weird. But so I remember that, and then I remember getting rolled into the operating room, and I remember seeing big, crazy-looking white robot arms, and they were awesome. They looked like the coolest thing I'd ever seen. Bright lights, giant like white robot arms, like factory robot arms. And I remember nothing else after that point. I don't remember them putting a mask on me or beginning the gas process. I remember absolutely zero from the surgery period until I woke up like at the end of the day in my bed. So again, memory lapses, weird, really weird. I'm very thankful I don't remember anything from the surgery because, I remember one more thing the doctor said before I went into the surgery. They were at someone in my family, it might have been Maeve, it might have been someone else, was asking them about the procedure, and they're like, yep, we're going to cut his skin flap open, and then we're going to carve a piece of his skull, just like a little cookie.
And then you...
And they said, we're going to take a skull cookie right out of his head. That is how he described what the surgery was going to be. And
Did they describe what type of cookie?
No. Well, I don't know. I would imagine like one of those butter cookies that comes in the tins that eventually people turn into sewing kits. I would imagine one of those cookies. But maybe I'd like to think it's also shaped like a puzzle piece.
I was thinking of like one of those like little Ritz sandwich cookies. Not Ritz, but like little mini Oreo.
Why would you
sandwich
pick a sandwich cookie of all cookies?
I don't know. Because those are like the perfectly small and round and like thick.
But it's got layers. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
how many
layers. I don't know.
Hey, ogres have layers.
Onions have layers.
Well, whatever skull cookie it was, did it feel like you were just sleeping, or was it not the same?
It felt like I
when
jumped into the future. It felt like time travel.
Oh.
Yeah, no, that really was. It just felt like
Really?
that time just deleted from reality for me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So obviously you're out. Obviously didn't feel anything or whatever.
Yeah.
But then you wake up that night and like, are there people around? Like, what's your first reaction when you wake up? Like, oh, okay, I guess it happened.
My first reaction was, I can think. I can understand things. This is good. My sister is feeding me macaroni in very small bits on this fork, but I can register that I understand that there's a fork and this is macaroni and cheese, and I understand that that's my sister's voice and she's feeding me. And okay, I understand that that's Maeve, and I understand that that's this person, and my brain is working. I just don't seem to be able to do much more than that. So,
could you see things?
Very faintly. I could recognize that I was in a room. Like, I could recognize that I was now back in my hospital room and not somewhere else. And I was just like, all right, well, I'm still really just out of it, but my brain's working. I can think. That was one of my very first things that I heard, that I thought when I woke up, like when my brain started turning back on. So that was, I mean, with this kind of surgery, you don't know. So,
Exactly.
So that was, I was grateful that was like my first thoughts. So that was good.
During like all of that, your kind of sensory input and stuff, are you like, do you notice a difference than what you felt like before you went under?
Do I notice a difference now, or did I?
No. When you when you first woke up after the surgery, did you notice any? Did you feel differently than before the surgery? I guess, or at that point, could you not even tell? It wasn't until days later, or if you do you still feel a difference or not a difference?
Part of having surgery in your brain is that there's like the opposite sides control each other. Yeah. So it was on my right side of the head. So a lot of times when they do that, they're worried about whether there's going to be a discrepancy between your left and your right sides. And apparently there was for a very little time. The thing is that the part they worked on is supposed to weaken the left side, and I'm left-handed. So I think I don't know if that helped or not. I don't know, but after not that long, they didn't really notice the discrepancies between my different sides. It just restored very quickly. So I don't actually remember how much of a discrepancy there was, because I was still really out of it at that point. But that's lucky too. So, keep knocking on wood that lucky things. But anyway, so there you go.
I mean, obviously I have very little knowledge of just kind of brain surgery and these kind of things in general, but did you learn by comparison? Like, to me, when we found out, Maeve had kind of messaged us that night, and it was late that night, so I didn't even find out till the next morning.
Right.
But this idea that you had a seizure and literally like within less than 2 days you're having brain surgery.
Yeah.
And as like my knowledge and my perception of what brain surgery is like, oh man, it's this whole thing with planning and weeks of planning, and like, is that a normal thing? How much do you know? Is it like,
well, apparently,
do you get what I'm kind of asking?
Apparently, for one thing, my surgeon is one of the best ones around, for one thing. And that has something to do with I got really fortunate that I got a really reputable surgeon. I don't know if that affects what you're talking about. I honestly, because I've never had to consider the preparation that goes into brain surgery. I don't know. I kind of feel the same way. You would think that it would be we need more time to prepare for that than just 2 days. Yeah. So
I guess if nothing else, I was just kind of showing the advancements in medical science, exactly. I suppose. Yeah. But you think the brain surgery is one of, if not one of the most, if not the most, just like, I don't know, dangerous, but just, crazy operations that you could perform on the human body, right?
Exactly.
Outside of like, huge organ transplants or something like that. And the idea of that you could like, oh yeah, just take him in tomorrow morning and we're going to
roll him into the shop.
That they would know exactly what it was they were trying to do.
Just put new tires.
Be ready to implement that plan.
Itself.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And that does kind of surprise me. But I'm grateful for it, because sooner the better with these kind of things. So
oh yeah, definitely.
Yep.
So you had the surgery, and that night you woke up and surgery went well. Over the next couple days, as you're kind of recovering and you're getting some sort of diagnosis spec, can you go in a little bit as much detail as you want in terms of kind of that next couple days and either the information you were learning and the recovery process?
Okay, so yeah, it was a kind of a long couple days. For one thing, like just for me, fully waking up from the surgery, but also just waiting on information because they cut it. They didn't get all of it. They got most of the tumor. So, but the thing is, because it's the brain, there's only so much risk they can take before they start doing brain damage. So they got most of it. There's remnants of it left. So the next step is to look at the tumor and figure out what kind of a tumor is. And if it's cancerous, then that means the rest of it has to come out. So it was a few days before we knew what we were dealing with. So that was kind of a long waiting game. The nice thing is that I was still kind of waking up and hazy through most of that. So like for most of it, I was kind of like, yeah, this is bad. Like this sucks. Like this is no good. But like I wasn't fully hitting me like the full impact of what was going on, like it was only on some level. So so it was a I want to make sure I get the dates right on here. So it was the 7th when I went in. It was the 9th. It was a Saturday when they did the surgery and got the tumor sample out. And then the day that we found out was on Valentine's Day. It was on the 14th. So it was most of the week. It was 5 days later, which, sucks in its own way. Because, the circumstances. But so then they were like, yeah, this is cancerous and it's a kind of an aggressive one. So then they're like, yeah, so what's left? We got to deal with this. Now we have to get the rest of it doing cancer treatment. So yeah, not a great day. But all things considered, actually, it wasn't as difficult to get when I found out because I had several days to dwell on it. So I was kind of just like, look, let's make sure this is bad. All right, let's assume this is bad. I also vaguely recall someone saying after the surgery, like, yeah, we don't know, but because this doctor is so awesome, he just by looking at it, he's like, yeah, this looks aggressive. Yeah, he took a look at it and he was like, yeah, we're gonna test it, but I can pretty much tell. So oh wow, yeah. So I kind of already that lessened the blow. I was expecting bad news. So
and I guess relief is not the right word, but like you were saying, sometimes the worst part is just kind of waiting in this period of unknownness. Yeah. So even though the diagnosis was awful, was there still some element of like, okay, at least I know what it is now?
Yeah. You ever go on one of those drop rides at a theme park? The worst part, like going up, and then it's the anticipation. Sit there. Yeah. You sit there for several seconds before it drops. That's the worst part, not the drop. That's the worst part.
Yeah, totally. That's true. So Matt, did you get to keep the tumor?
I asked them for it. They didn't let me. But
what the heck?
It's yours.
No, it's not because
you grew it.
Maybe I did. Thank you. I spent probably a good amount of time on it. No, I asked if I could keep it. That's another bit now that I'm remembering from before the surgery. I asked them. I think that was one of the questions I asked. Aside from what are the risks, I think I then asked, "Can I keep the tumor?" No, but they did let me keep my hair. I had a big lion's mane of hair. And funny thing is, I was actually gonna cut it down to more of like a Don Draper look, like right before I was hospitalized, and. Because my hair had gotten so long, I was tired of managing it, and now I don't have to because now I have this like buzz cut like Mad Max thing with this beard going on and this like backwards question mark scar on my head, which is pretty awesome looking. That had metal in it until a couple of days from the surgery, but I went to get the staples removed, and I thought it was going to be this whole thing. I thought they were going to put me like on a stretcher and like use local anesthesia and like carefully dig them out. It was literally, I went into the regular, if you go to see the doctors, they put you just like in a regular doctor's office and you sit sideways on the weird bed that has the paper on it. Yeah. They just had me sit, and the nurse and the main doctor looked at it and went, yeah, okay, it's time for these to come out. And then I'll get the nurse. The nurse came in with a pair of pliers and just
God.
Jesus.
hold them out one by one like you're using a stapler remover. Just
You weren't at a hospital, were you?
How did that feel?
I was at actually a really modern doctor's office. It was one of the newer facilities. How did that feel? It actually didn't hurt as much as I thought it was going to. I would rather not have to go through that again. But
Would you recommend the experience?
I would. Well, I recommend it. You know what? I would actually recommend it under less dire circumstances with less staples. I had 54 of them they had to take out.
Oh, I was just going to ask how many. It's 54.
If you had like 4 in your head because you like hit your head or whatever, and then you had to go get them removed, I think you might actually enjoy it just because it's a nuisance. It's like something different. So
Yeah.
Anyway, what were we talking about immediately before I started?
What about you said you couldn't keep the tumor or the,
Oh, yeah.
But what did they do with the skull they cut off? Did they put the skull back in?
I hope so. It feels.
I guess they
feels
probably
like
would,
it.
right?
Yeah, I would think so.
I don't know.
Well, so they cut a flap of skin, fold it out, take the
That was
donut, and then
like
just
a little
put,
hole you could
put the
touch your brain or
skin back over on top of it like a little lid.
yeah, and let out steam.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I remember on an X-Files episode once, Mulder says that the capacity of the human brain is limited by the oxygen it receives. So, just open that bad boy up and you get
But
smarter.
open up the sunroof.
Yeah, exactly.
Get some air in there.
Advances in medical science.
Yeah.
There you go.
No, yeah. So they didn't let me keep the tumor, but
Mhm.
my giant lion's mane of hair, they put it in a bag and labeled it biohazard and gave it back to me. So that's rude.
They didn't have to. You could tell they wrote that.
They did that for fun. They did it on purpose.
Jerks.
All right.
So, do they have an idea of what exactly instigated the seat? Like, obviously, it sounds like it's just an extreme case of the headaches building up. But was there something that triggered that specific, episode, or it was just a gradual buildup?
I haven't heard anything, so I'd have to assume it was just a buildup over time. But yeah, I haven't heard any kind of speculation about that.
But so now that it's been, so it's been 3 weeks, I guess.
It has been as of tomorrow. It has been a month.
Okay.
And actually, so it happened on the 7th. That was Maeve and I's 7-month since we got married. So tomorrow's our 8th actually, as of this recording. So so it's almost a month.
So have you had any or do you still get the headaches? Have you experienced any of those same symptoms?
No, actually I haven't. I mean, the thing is that I have a whole bunch of other symptoms because I'm recovering from surgery, but actually no, the symptoms that I had before, I have not experienced any kind of, and I have always had sinus problems for a long time. Like I always felt like I had sinus pressure, and I haven't experienced that either. So I'm wondering if that was actually the tumor and not sinus problems. So,
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm just not kind of realizing that. So it's possible that there are other things going on that was causing that. How could anybody know that was a symptom?
Exactly.
Because I've always had sinus problems, but they seemed particularly worse when I was having the headaches. So yeah, that's kind of weird. I really honestly just only thought about that right now. So interesting. Crazy stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just so you said there was obviously some recovery time just mentally, but physically, you're having brain surgery and this shock on your whole system.
Mm-hmm.
What was that process like, and kind of walk through the physical recovery?
Sure. I'll definitely want to talk about that because the thing is that right now I'm kind of in the eye of the storm because pretty soon I'll be starting treatments, right? Mm-hmm. But before this, so it's kind of right now I'm kind of in recovery mode, but for this first stage of this whole thing, the thing that's happening as far as recovery goes is just recovering from having surgery and then being bedridden for a week. And that's actually what's caused the most damage to me right now. That's why I am in the recovery that I currently am, is because I was bedridden for over a week before I ever stood up. And so it's crazy because the first time I tried to stand up at all was several days after I got admitted to the hospital, and it was after the surgery. I think even I don't think from the time I came in until after the surgery that I ever tried to stand up. It was just a couple days after the surgery. The first time I tried, they put me in a walker. Everybody had to lift me, and I'm not a light guy, so that sucks for everybody. But they had to lift me out of the bed, get me up onto a walker, and then they would like, okay, try to step forward, try to step backwards. All right, see if you can sidestep 3 steps. And I like immediately started coughing. And part of the thing is the surgery is that, like, not to get too graphic, but there's like tubes down my throat and stuff. So like that messes with your respiratory system, and it can cause a little bit of rawness inside of you. So like I coughed up a little bit of blood, and it was like, oh no, and you start coughing because your lungs are waking back up. Everything's waking back up. Everything shuts down, and then everything has to wake back up. So I took those 5-6 steps, started coughing, and then like got back, and it took all of my energy. Like that, I was out for the rest of the day. Like that was all my body had enough energy. That's all it was capable of doing at that moment in time. So that's starting point, right? Like you try to stand on your legs, and all of a sudden you feel all of these muscles that you didn't realize that just to stand up, there's like you become hyper aware of everything that's going on in your body. Like like you don't know. I don't know actually know, but say there's a dozen or whatever muscles that are around your knees and your thighs and whatever, just for the act of standing. Yeah. Now everything lights up like a computer screen. I can feel everything that the body has to do to perform any action. I'm hyper aware of it. And the other thing I'm hyper aware of is how much energy I'm expending. It's like I have a video game readout, like a health meter or a stamina meter. I have a heads up display all of a sudden that says, here's what's going on in your body. Here's how much energy it's going to take to accomplish this. Here's how much you just spent. Here's how much food you need to eat at your next meal so that you can recover those calories. Like that's what it felt like. It was, I can't describe it better than that. It's crazy. And again, starting point, it's, well, nothing works. So it's kind of imagine this. It's like you have a breaker box, right? With all these switches, like in Jurassic Park, and every single one controls every single possible one thing that can happen in your body, right? Someone opened that breaker box and just like ran their arms over it and shut them all off, right? So now you have to every day turn a couple back on, right? And then you turn a couple on, and those turned on these muscles. So now it's easier the next day to turn on these other breakers that you couldn't turn on by yourself, right? So that's kind of what the process was for recovery. And it was, so I was in the first hospital for a total of a week. They had me in intensive care, I think, and then they moved me to like a special ward for the last couple of days I was there, specifically for like brain patients. I think it was oncology or something like that. What was it? Neurology, right? They moved me to the neurology ward. But a lot of that, but it was, as far as getting up and moving, like it was everything. Every single thing was a challenge. Everything was difficult, and it was always an ordeal to get up, like to go to the bathroom, like to just walk 5 feet away from the bed, like. And it every day it was a challenge. It was difficult, and it's just, man, this is. Gosh, how can you just turn everything off in your body? Like, how can everything just shut off? It's crazy,
Yeah. And so you're in that hospital, you said, for a week. And what were they originally saying how long they thought the recovery time in terms of like kind of physical recovery would be?
Well, that's the thing, is that it's impossible to know in a lot of ways exactly what someone's going to be after brain surgery. So it's really, they kind of have to plan for the worst. But like I said, when I came out of it, my brain was still working fine, and it was mostly my body just having the damage it caused, the like atrophy and everything, just from being bedridden, while the brain was waking up. So so what happened was a lot of people who have to go through this are older, right? So this is really more common with older people, which is good. That's good for me, because it's harder for older people to recover from this kind of a thing. If you have to have brain surgery when you're in your 60s, there's really a good chance that when you come out of that, you're not going to be the same, right? Yeah. So again, I'm thankful that when I came out of mine, my brain is, as far as I can tell, you guys will have to keep me accountable. As far as I can tell, my brain's still working the same.
You've been speaking French this whole time.
Oh no, I don't even know French. So that's the thing. So they had this facility. That was for physical therapy, and they're like, we send this to people to this if we think that like there's a really good chance that we can get them back up to 100%, and like 100%, and like in a relatively quick manner. So they're like, and this guy qualifies because he's young and he's got a lot of good things going for him right now. So we're going to send him here. And their original estimate was 3 to 5 weeks. So they sent me after I was in the original hospital for 9 days. And so after that, they transferred me to the other hospital across town, which I want to talk about a little bit because aesthetically it's kind of strange. But they transferred me to the other hospital across town, and that was where they were hosting their physical therapy center. So like they had in the city that I live in, they had built a newer hospital, but they owned this older facility, so it's not the primary hospital anymore. So but they still own the building, so they're kind of like using random floors as whatever special need thing they need. So it was just like, okay, the 5th floor, this is our physical therapy center for the time being, whatever. So so they sent me there, and that was kind of the next stage of the situation. So 3 to 5 weeks was their original estimate. I ended up only being there for 1 week. So, yeah. Yeah. So, and the thing I knocked it out. I rockied it. But they were saying, yeah, at first they were like, okay, well, he's making progress, and he's like his breakers are turning on, basically. They're turning back on. Because, like I said, it's kind of exponential. The more of them you turn on, the easier it gets to turn more of them on every day. So they were like, okay, it's looking like a week and a half to 2 weeks. And then, like, a couple days before they kicked us out, it was like, yeah, you're going home. You're going home in 2 days. You're because, yeah.
Even that quickly, they knew that you were just like, yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, well,
fine,
the PT center is kind of a wild experience because, like I said, the first hospital is this brand new hospital. This is on top of the hill, and it looks like a hotel when you walk in. There's like a Starbucks and all this. And then this is the one that was built in the 70s, so it looks like a TV show hospital, right? But it was weird because they took me on a stretcher because I still wasn't in fully walking mode when I left the first hospital. And because of the nature of the building, because it's not set up for the way that it was originally designed, they kind of like, yeah, this area is this now and this area is this there. So there's different elevators, and some elevators, if like you press floor 3 on one elevator and you press floor 3 on another elevator, you'll end up on a physically different floor in the building. So like it was weird stuff like that. And the paramedic guys who had me on the stretcher got lost on the way in, and like I'm on a stretcher. So this is like I'm on some kind of weird haunted theme park ride. Because I've got no control over the situation. I'm strapped down on a table.
You should make a roller coaster tycoon.
Oh no! I haven't made a roller coaster tycoon ride in a while, but oh no! Yes. But here's the thing: I literally ended up in a boiler room at one point because the signage was so weird that the paramedics were like, "What is this building? What is happening here?" So once we got to where we needed to go, everything was very nice. Like they had made an old building into a very welcoming facility. But I just like had bad vibes going the way in. And I'm like, I don't know what's happening. Why is everything scary? I have no control over the situation. If I got off this table, I wouldn't be able to walk anyway. It felt a little like Silent Hill, I'll say. Yeah, once I got in there, well, for one thing, I barely went outside for a period of almost 3 weeks, and like once I got in there, like I wasn't able to leave the room for a while because I came in on a weekend, and the physical therapy people come in their weekdays, and you get 2 days off every week. So like they came in on Saturday, and because they hadn't started physical therapy on me, I couldn't go anywhere. So I was just like, well, I'm in my room. It's a smaller room than the last hospital, but it's fine. It's enough space. And I'm in here, and none of the weird, scary hospital stuff outside my room is here, so I think I'm okay. And I'm by a window, and I can see the world. Great. Cool. We're all right. But it was a couple days before I could actually go out, and they gave me a wheelchair, and I could, like, explore and see the rest of the level. So it was a little strange going in there. But yeah, so basically, they put you on the schedule for physical therapy, and there's 3 components. There's regular physical therapy, which is about like just again training your muscles to wake back up, and then there's what's called occupational physical therapy, which is about can you do day-to-day life tasks? Like, can you brush your teeth? Can you put your shoes on by yourself? Can you get in and out of bed? Can you change your pants?
Yeah.
They literally like, okay, I need to see that you can put your pants on, like stuff like that. So it's just basic, like, are you able to function as a human being, right? Yeah. And then they had what's called speech. What was the other one? Speech therapy. Yeah, I keep asking my wife. Speech and cognitive therapy. I keep asking.
Is it a good time when you have to keep asking what speech therapy?
No, I couldn't remember what the other word was. It was okay. Yeah. But no, you guys. I just had brain surgery. Cut me some slack. So basically, and on that note, basically they sit you at a table and they test to see if your brain's still working, and they do that by like giving you logic puzzles. And it's the puzzles like that they give you in school where it's like, figure out like the order that this is going to happen in. Mary has to go to this place first, but she has to stop at the post office here. But the post office is over on this side, and you have to like use process of elimination to figure out like the order of things. Or maybe you have to fill out a chart that says like, here's 4 characters, and you have to figure out what their job and their house and their garden and their whatever based on like a set of clues. So it's all
that's cool.
They give you those.
I mean, what if you're just a stupid person, though, and can't
Well, that's the problem, because sometimes I'd be like, look, I'm going to level with you. I don't know if I could have figured this out before brain surgery. But I was like, no, give me the hard ones. Let me see. I got to figure this out. But the thing is that, like, what they're testing for is, like, again, it's like...
just the process more than the solution.
Well, the thing is that what she said is, like, what a weird example. The example that she gave me was, she's like, we don't know if the calculus part of your brain is working unless you try to do calculus, so we have to test the parts of the brain, right? And I'm like, lady, I didn't know calculus before. there's no calculus part of my brain. Look,
well, that's interesting. Yeah, so I would have never thought of it like that.
It's a good analogy, but it's also a bad one because, like, it's calculus. So,
well, Matt, you should have said, okay, let's try this out, and then try to do calculus, and then pretend like you can't do it, and like, you guys took out the calculus out of my head.
Yeah, can I hold them liable for that?
Yeah, exactly.
Or it could have been that we could have had a Goodwill Hunting moment, and all of a sudden he was like a calculus genius solving.
Oh man. I got cheated out of my calculus. All right.
One way or another.
Also, you got cheated out of beating Matt Damon.
No. So yeah, that's the thing. And the thing is, like, because I'm a super genius, I graduated from the brain doctor really fast. No, this is actually a true story, because the thing is that, for one thing, I was not in the facility as long as I was supposed to, as they originally predicted, but they're supposed to give you an hour of each type of therapy every day, which in itself is aggravating, because like they don't give you the schedule. Like, they make up the schedule like in the morning, and like I'm like, what's today going to be? I don't know. And then sometimes your physical therapy blocks get broken up into smaller half an hour blocks that get separated. So like it's every day is a different, like, what am I going to be doing today and when am I going to be doing it? The only thing that that was reliable was that I got 3 meals a day, which was pretty sweet. I will say I was surprised by how good the hospital food was. I was not expecting that, but I was also just like, wow, cool. Like 7 a.m., noon, and 5 o'clock. I'm definitely gonna have somebody deliver me food. Awesome. That's great. I don't have to think about it. I'm definitely going to be eating during that time, and it also means I'm not going to be doing my therapy sessions. I guaranteed I'm going to be sitting on my butt and eating some awesome hospital food. It was crazy. They had chicken adobo, and it was good chicken adobo. Really? There were nights they had like fettuccine alfredo with chicken, and they had like, there was all the, like, it wasn't, there were definitely some meals that were like, yeah, this is a hospital meal, but there was also like, oh, well, hey, compliments to the chef. You really went above and beyond there, didn't you? So
when you're here, you're family, all right?
When you're here, yeah.
When you're here, why are you here?
Exactly. So anyway, I kind of went on a little bit of a tangent, but the point is, you're supposed to get a total of an hour of each of the 3 every day. And after like a couple days, the brain doctor, she was just like, dude, your brain's fine. We're done here. and also I talk to all the doctors a lot just because I make light of the situation. I'm trying to just banter with everybody. Yeah. I was telling everybody about like my Switch that I got, and I one of the things about being in the physical therapy thing is that like there's like a dining room that has a big screen TV in it that everybody watches the news on in the morning and at lunchtime.
Yeah.
But everybody in the hospital is like old, so everybody goes to bed at like 7 or 8. So I would just like at 8 o'clock roll over there in my wheelchair and set up my Nintendo Switch on this awesome like HD big screen TV. And usually at some point, one of my friends or family would show up with second dinner for me, because as good as the hospital food is, it's smaller than my normal portions. So usually somebody would show up, so I would just roll in there and set up my Switch and eat whatever delicious food anybody brought me, which was amazing. I mean, I will talk more about it later, but everybody I know has been so generous and giving, but oh my gosh, I ate like some of the best eating I've had is in the last month.
Chewy, they're gonna have to cram you into the CAT scan.
I know. That's gonna be even more traumatic the next time, because they do have to do it again. Yeah. But anyway, so I would brag about that to all the nurses and all the physical therapy people, and the brain doctor, she's like, "You're playing Zelda, right?" I'm like, "Yeah," and she's like, "You have to like figure out puzzles and stuff," and I'm like, "Yeah," and she's like, "Yeah, how about you keep playing video games?" I'm like, "Okay, yeah, really."
Awesome.
I got officially prescribed by a doctor to play more Zelda. So,
oh man,
yeah,
That's the best prescription.
yeah, take that, guys.
Yeah.
You're never gonna get that. So,
Well, maybe if we're lucky.
so anyway, so she basically after a few days was just like, "I can't see any problems." And I'm like, "Well, that's good. I mean, you didn't know me before, so I could be way dumber, but but I mean, if you think I'm good, then I'm good." So, but it's interesting, just like that particular part of the therapy was interesting, because it's like they're focusing on like, can you pay your bills? Can you keep track of the days of the week? And can you keep to a schedule? And can you do as an adult, all the adult things that you have to do that are logistic based and calendar based? That's their main focus. Yeah. So those are the kind of things these are all these things, these angles that I just never thought that like, if you're not in the situation that you have to keep track of, and that doctors have to monitor and figure out,
That is really interesting. So you were there for another week at that hospital?
At the physical therapy center. Yeah.
So and then you're able to come home, and you've been home now for 3 weeks?
I've been home for 2 weeks. Yeah.
2 weeks. So how much would you say you are, in terms of, post-surgery, from the surgery, 100% recovered? What percentage, or,
Well, one of the things they said that would happen after the surgery is that there would be like some swelling and dizziness. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the thing that I'm kind of getting over. Because when I was in the hospital, I was taking it really easy and not walking a lot and doing a lot of sitting. So there wasn't a lot of physical motion. But now that I'm out and about in the world, it's kind of, it's something that I got to deal with. So, but physically, I feel like I'm almost there again, which is great because it's only been a month, but I feel like every single day, remember the breakers? Every single day, it's exponential. So, and every day, and here's the thing, even with the dizziness, every day when I wake up in the morning, I feel better than I did the day before. Even someday, even with the rough days, still, you wake up and it feels like I can feel recovery. I can feel the healing, so that's good. I feel like I'm, as far as like restoring from the surgery, I don't feel like there's going to be that much more time before I'm like, moving around. So I yesterday I rearranged the monitors on my desk. I would not have been able to do that the day I came home. Today I assembled a lamp. We got a new lamp for our living room, and I assembled a lamp. So every day I find that I'm able to do more things since I've come home in the last 2 weeks. So that's good. I'm happy about the progress that I made in that end.
Well, like even less than 2 weeks ago, just the day after you left the facility, Ryan and my parents, they throw an annual Oscar party, and you surprised everyone and showed up, and I think I was just shocked to see how much you seem to be completely autonomous. If not completely, then
Well,
more than I would think someone who just had a brain surgery.
Right.
Like you were walking around, you were getting food, you were, sitting talking, like you had a walker, but you weren't even using it, and for the most of the time you're there.
At that point in the recovery, I was at the point where, like, if there were enough things to hold on to, I could get from one side of a house to another. But if I'm like, I gotta walk from the car to this place, so I gotta walk around, then I was still on the walker. But now I'm at the point where, like, we bring the walker if we, like, in the car if, like, I do get tired, but, like, I'm basic, like, I saw, Vince came over today and we went out for tacos and and we didn't bring the walker with us because I'm like, because it's like, oh, we can get to the restaurant, I can get in, I can get out, it's not too far, so I'm more and more every day I'm just, like, not bringing the walker with me. And that's great, and I think pretty soon I'm not going to need it for very much longer. So
that's so crazy.
Yeah, the Oscar party was good because I was maybe being a little stubborn, but I had just been out of the hospital. I'm like, I got to do something normal because the last few weeks of my life there's been nothing normal about it, right? And so I'm like, the Oscar party, I love going to that every year. It's so much fun. It's a yearly tradition for me. Even though I barely saw any of the Oscar movies this year, which we talked about in the last episode. But I just it was just a thing that I was familiar with. I knew I was going to see a bunch of people that I loved, and I knew reliably that I was going to have a good time. And I'm going to brag, I made a dish for your party.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's probably the best dish that anyone did make.
That's sweet of you to lie to me.
It was delicious.
Oh, thank you. I know Chris didn't have any because it had crab in it. Sorry, Chris.
Chris, he's dead.
But I made crab mac and cheese, and I may have helped me quite a bit. I gave her, she basically was my line chef. I gave her lots of instructions on what to do, but that was for the day after getting out of the hospital, going to the grocery store, having to give her instructions on what to buy, and then kind of trying to cook a meal I was like, this is going to be really difficult, but I think I can manage it, and I want to push myself to see if I can do something normal and then go to a place and do an activity that's normal. I knew that if I didn't bring anything, nobody was going to, care, but, like, I was just like, no, you know what? The most normal thing I could do is do this party as accurately as I normally do it. So, and that was really good for my mental health when I got out of the hospital. It was really just like, oh, I'm out. Yes. All right. Let's get back to as much of regular life as I can, So that was fun. I'm glad that I got to do that.
So the transition back to being as much as normal as possible at your home, I know I've read a little bit about setting up different things around the house to make it easier for you. What's that transition like? And when you think you are fully recovered, how much will that change that kind of everyday life for you?
Well, if you want to talk about a little bit about kind of the accommodations. Well, for one thing, I got a walker. And again, that was like, I was walking, my last days of physical therapy, I was walking around the facility with the walker, but it was kind of more of a safety net, like, because there were times during the physical therapy where I didn't know when I was going to get winded and need to sit. So they gave me this walker that folds into a seat. So, like, if I just kind of push it, have something to support, but then if I get tired, I could just sit for a second, recharge, and then get back up. So, wait, what was the question?
Just like, well, because I know I had read too, like, just like a shower seat.
Oh, right, yeah. So
just other things around the house that you're having to adapt to and kind of change. And how much do you think that's going to actually, like, change your everyday life? Well, if at all. I mean, depending on how much you recover.
It has now because, we bought a shower chair, and because when I was, by the time I left, I was still having to sit down to take a shower. So we bought that, and we put a couple of like a handrail in the on the side of the bathtub, and like some of that nonstick stuff. So, and then we got a lot of pillows. I've never had so many pillows in my life, but that's just to kind of like, just keep me comfortable. And a couple other smaller things, like we put like a hook on the door of the cars to get it easy, in and out of the car a little bit easier. But I think, like I said, every day that goes by, I'm becoming more like physically autonomous. Like it's that I can walk around longer. I can stay on my feet longer. I don't get as dizzy. I don't feel my muscles. Every day, all those things get easier. So I think, I don't know. I think in the very near future, I probably won't need a lot of those things. But that's what I'm hoping. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But again, in the future, when I start treatment, I don't know what that's going to look like. So it could very well be. It's good to have it. It's great that I have it, and it's possible that I might need it again in the future. So like we're set now. So our place is like
That's
good
awesome.
for So whatever I need,
It's just like help me, confident moving forward.
exactly. We have the tools that we need to continue. So, but as far again, we're in the eye of the storm, recovering from the initial surgery, but that is going really well. That aspect of this process is going really well.
That's awesome. That's great. So
Yep.
so the eye of the storm, that implies there is more storm ahead.
Right.
So what is next? The whole story up to now has been, obviously shocking, but also in some ways amazing how much, you've done in so little time.
Right.
But that being said, there's still, work ahead.
Right.
And what is that, and what are the next steps for you?
Well, like I said, I mentioned a lot of this in the GoFundMe, or my wife has, but it's the treatments to get the rest of it out, which involves, radiation and chemo. So that, it's rough on some people. It's rough on a lot of people. So that's going to be a several week thing. And we have to kind of see, we don't know what that's going to look like yet. I'm sure it's going to be, it's going to be a fight, but it's the goal right now is to get in as best shape as possible so that when I start, I'm in a great place. So if it does weaken me, I'm already really strong so that I can kind of fight through it. So, which again, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to push through it. So that is to get rid of what's left, and hopefully, and then we see what at the end of the process what it looks like, and then everything is its own like step. So you have to kind of see what the next step looks like, because we didn't know that this current step I'm in was going to be as successful as it was. But now that we are, we're like, all right, cool. Now it's time to move to the next step, and then we see how that one goes, and depending on how it goes, you might move to another one. So the hope is that these treatments take care of what's left.
So you said it's chemo and radiation?
Yeah, this particular cancer, radiation is like that's like always the first step. So,
and what does that mean by radiation treatment?
I don't, science-wise, I don't know enough about it. So,
I mean, I just mean like in terms of what you'll be doing. Is it a medication you're taking, or
it's a treatment? It's like a process that they put you through. So, but I don't know. I'm not an expert. I can't really speak on the process of how it works. So,
so there's radiation, and then following the radiation is chemo.
Yeah, and I think there's a little bit of overlap. So, yeah. So the one that I'm using is hopefully it's supposed to be one of the less harder ones. Like the side effects aren't as extreme. So, so that's good. And it's the one that's common for the type of cancer that I have. So it just happens to be another one of those little happy things like, oh, hey, the one that works the best is the one that's actually,
Okay.
So that's what it's looking like. Things could change, but that's what's looking like. So, that's what the next immediate steps are as far as like dealing with the sickness,
Yeah. And that's a couple weeks, you said.
Yeah, like a
month
and a half, something like that. It kind of as it goes into the future. As it goes into the future, it's a lot of things fluctuate and change. So, so that's what's next. So, there you go.
Yeah. So I mean, I said it, I think, multiple times, but it's hard to wrap your head around. And I can't even imagine it for people like your immediate family or not even yourself, really.
Right.
But just even from my perspective or our perspective, it's just like something that's so hard to believe, to even kind of fathom that, like, Chewie, we all know Chewie is fine and just as active and everything. And then within, short amount of time, like you're saying, and having brain surgery and now future treatments and stuff. How do you kind of like deal with that in terms of just kind of processing it and I don't know how much you want to get into just like necessarily emotionally or whatever, but just like mentally and like kind of keep looking forward without kind of getting bogged down and just, I mean, that it sucks.
Right.
I can't imagine
it
sucks how much it sucks, but it sucks.
It does. Yeah, there's no way around that. But the thing is, like, Well, for one thing, there are some, like I said, that some sciencey things that, and like my age, and some other things that, like, just based on statistics, that I'm like that work in my favor. So there are things scientifically that are good to hope for, but also I just can't like. I just can't get myself into like a mentality that like into defeatist mentality. Like the thing that it helps me and that right now is to do as much normal stuff as possible and plan for the future. Like it, and this is actually a good time for me to talk about a couple of things. But I mentioned how awesome my students are earlier, but really like it wasn't just the way that they reacted to when I collapsed. It's what they have been doing since I left. And one of the things that I was trying to stress at the beginning of my Tech 2 class at the beginning of the term was I kind of reframed how I was going to teach this class this term, and I was going to say, okay, look, we're really going with the theme of, hey, students, this is your theater, you're employees for me now. We just inherited this theater. We have to figure out how to run a theater. Like if you now are all of a sudden in charge of a playhouse, what's everything that you need to do? You know, do you need to go in and check to see if there's utilities, what kind of equipment exists, does it work? Do we need to come up with a system of organization? Should we elect leaders? Should somebody in charge of lighting? What is everything that you need to do to get that theater up into operation status so that you can start using it, right? So that's, I lucked out because I started my term on that note. And we spent like a week or two, like really figuring out like, okay, now, all right, cool. You guys decided you want to elect leaders. Let's elect leaders. You decided you want to do this. Let's do this. And I kind of gave them a lot of control. So when I left, that's what I left them with. And I'm so glad that I tried it out this term, because as soon as they were gone, they told me the sub came in and the students were like, all right, we already know what we need to do. We have a show coming up this week. Somebody needs to design lights. Who's going to design lights? All right, this person needs to be contacted because they have a show next week. We need to find out when their rehearsals are. We need to find out who's going to work that show. And that's how they took it on after I left. And that is amazing. Like that for my soul, for my psyche has been incredible to see the kind of work. And on top of that, I got to visit them, which was great. That was so good. They were I was so happy to see them. They were happy to see me. It was great. But I have started working on some projects for my class that I had been wanting to do for a while. One of them is like a big class website. And basically I delegated a bunch of pages to the students as an assignment. I said, here, everybody get into partners. You all have a page on the website. You have to rate the page on the website. And so they're creating all these web pages. And then I am using it to kind of like go through my curriculum and like get all my assignments organized and have a place so that like if there's a substitute, they can go to the website and just like get the assignment. Or if a kid needs their assignment, they lost their homework, they can go out and print it out. If I have a student who's an overachiever, which I always do, and they want to learn something advanced and I haven't gotten to it in class, they'll be able to go to the class and they'll be able to study ahead if they want to. So I've been using this time to go back to your original question about like how I'm doing mentally. I've been using this time to be as productive as possible now that I'm capable of like sitting upright and being at a computer and like really thinking about, work. So because I'm on leave. So I'm trying to do like, I want to do as much as I can to help since I'm out. Mm-hmm. So, and that has been fantastic for me. So and the fact that it's an act of planning for the future, right? Like, because when I come back, it's going to help me out. It's the thing I wanted to do anyway. Yeah. It's going to help me keep my class really in order, and it's going to make my life so much easier. So the act of like doing normal things and having a goal to build to, which right now is to get back to work as soon as possible. Right. I teach and then I work theater productions at other theaters around San Diego. So my goal, like once I can get back into shape to where I can teach a class, I can guide projects, at some point go back to working tech theater, like, when I can climb a ladder again, like as soon as I can get to that point, that's what's kind of driving me right now. So, because that is really what, like, really what drives me. Like, I love both of my jobs so much that, when I'm able to do that, I think, that it's good. And, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know how things are going to go, but that's kind of, I have to keep on going. You know what I mean?
I mean,
definitely.
It's amazing, honestly. And I mean, the thing is, Chewie, like, you don't have to, but you're doing so because it's just kind of who you are. I mean, it's like you could wallow in despair, but that's just not the kind of person that you are, and you've chosen this positive outlook. And I mean, it's inspiring everybody else around you. Like, it's amazing to see, honestly.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I really do. But at the same time, I go crazy if I don't. if I'm not working, I just get so bored. So I've got to be productive. It's just, I get that from my dad, actually. That's like, we have to, my dad's retired and he's still working 3 jobs. So, so I got to keep working. I got to keep my mind active. I got to do stuff that's going to help people and be productive. That way I feel like, I'm contributing and I'm doing what, I feel fulfilled. You know what I mean? It's fulfilling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. Did you guys, I had some things, we're kind of past the hour mark. Actually, we talked a little bit longer than I thought we were going to, but, I had some other things I want to talk about, but did you guys have any other topics of conversation? Because we're kind of caught up timeline wise.
No, I mean, I didn't have any other questions per se. I don't know about anyone else.
I forgot to tell this story, but when I was in intensive care, they put these. This is a story that I recall telling everybody who came to visit me in the hospital. By the way, everybody who's listening who came to visit me, thank you. Everybody's awesome. Everything is awesome. But they put these smashy things on my legs in the middle of the night to keep my circulation going because I was in bedridden, And this is going to sound unrelated, but I've been listening. I said this on other podcasts, but I've been listening to the audiobooks of Harry Potter.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
For the last few months. This is like my 4th or 5th time through the series. And I was on Order of the Phoenix, which in itself, I forgot to mention. I listened to it on the way to and from work, in my car. And I was right at the point where they went to Wizard Hospital. And on my first night after the surgery, Maeve was putting Harry Potter on my phone to listen to while I was going to sleep. So I was listening to it, but it was just weird because the first time we put it on in the hospital, they were getting to Wizard Hospital when Ron's dad gets attacked. So, so that was weird in itself. That's just a weird coincidence. But at any rate, okay, so this is so weird and off topic, but I told all of you guys, so I might as well tell the podcast listeners. And I had just recently finished listening to Goblet of Fire because I'm Order of the Phoenix. So at the end of Goblet of Fire, when Voldemort comes out of the cauldron, and then he talks to all he gives story time to his Death Eaters. There's always story time in all these Harry Potter books.
Yeah.
For more of me ranting about that, listen to our Crimes of Grindelwald episode. But but he gives story time, and he goes on this long, several many pages long tangent about where he's been since he's gone. And he says, when he's talking about when he's in the forest, when he's ripped from his body, he says something like, he said, actually, I'm gonna Google this real quick. I want to get the exact quote. Okay. He says, I was ripped from my body, less than spirit, less than the meanest ghost. That is how he describes himself as a bodiless vapor after he got defeated by Harry Potter. He was less than the meanest ghost. I don't know if you guys... I know all of you guys said the same thing, and I hope everybody who's listening can recall if they remember the words "the meanest ghost" when they were reading Harry Potter. I don't know why that completely deleted from my memory, even after 4 or so times going through the series, but that is the weirdest line in the entire series. I was less than the meanest ghost. Anyway, I bring that up because under my, all the, drugs and chemicals they had me hooked up to on the IV and my haze waking up from the surgery, I imagined the leg crusher compressor things as they felt like muscular men fingers massaging my ankles.
Muscular.
It felt like
names.
Terry Crews, 4 Terry Cruzes were kind of a little bit overly aggressively massaging my legs while I was in bed for the whole time I was in the hospital. And while I was still under, still waking up from the haze, that I'm the meanest ghosts.
Just repeating that.
Yeah, and I mentioned it to every person who came to visit me in the hospital. Ryan, you probably guys
Yeah, I remember that. That was pretty funny.
Yeah. Anyway, I can't do this podcast without mentioning that One, because it's weird, and also because I felt the need to tell everybody every time they visited me. So about the meanest ghosts. I'm like, hey, I'm glad you're here. Thanks for visiting me. I need to tell you about these ghosts.
And they're like, oh, okay, Chewie, we'll see you later.
Well, his brain definitely doesn't work no more. Anyway, so that was the last story. I wanted to slip that in earlier, but I'm glad that I got that out. I'm very satisfied now that I did. So anyway, do you guys have anything else? Because otherwise I got some things.
No?
No, I mean, I was just gonna then kind of maybe ask about, and you're probably gonna bring it up now anyway. I would imagine, but kind of just what sort of support you've got over this whole ordeal and ongoing, and how that's helped you and Maeve.
Well, John,
kind of deal with.
That's exactly what I wanted to talk about. So I mentioned it earlier, but my wife is fantastic, and she's been so supportive and helping me out, and like keeping the logistics of all this, because it's a lot of like doctor's appointments and dates and scheduling and that kind of stuff. And so my wife has really picked up a lot of that, and really kind of, I'm so grateful that she's taken charge. And because it's so many random day-to-day things that you don't have to normally think about, but then you're in the situation and you're like, oh, this is going to be more difficult than I thought. So anyway, so my wife, as we mentioned on the GoFundMe, if you've seen that, she's an independent contractor, so she's actually taking work off to take care of me, basically. So she set up a GoFundMe account, and the goal was like really initially small, and it got met like in an hour, and so she kept raising it, and it kept getting met. So I was just amazed that how supportive people were being. Like, I couldn't believe how the community was wanted to help us, just wanted to give to us, and I'm still, every time I think about it, I get overwhelmed. I honestly get overwhelmed every time I think about it. It's crazy how supportive everybody's been, how that number shot up, and really, and I wanted to talk about that, and because really how that helps us is, like I said, it helps so that Maeve can take the time off to help me out, but also just like there's, with insurance, there's random things that it covers and random things it doesn't. Like, the wheelchair or the walker was covered, but like the ride from between hospitals was out of pocket. So that what this does, it helps Maeve take the time off, and it helps us cover those just like random, like co-pays and prescription refills and stuff like that. So everybody has already donated to that, that's what you're helping with. That, and it's, because it's like, they're not going to be like, you have cancer, so this is exactly the dollar amount that it's going to cost you. Like, here's the bill for having cancer, and that's what you're going to pay. It's kind of like, you have to do the things that you have to do as it comes. So that's what everybody who has donated that is what they've been contributing to. And we cannot say how thankful that we've been. Seriously, I cannot stress how thankful that we are. So that is still up. So I'm sure we'll be posting links to that in the description and when we post the episode. So that is something that if you want to help out, and I'm not asking anybody to help out again, because I am already overwhelmed by how much help we've already gotten. But if you are wanting to, you can, throw a couple, even if you throw like a couple bucks in there. We've had enough people who just like threw in like $5, but they added up to a lot. So if you want to contribute, you can. If you don't, or if you're not in a place where, money is money, and people, can or can't give what they want. If you just share the link, anything that you could do that would help us out so much. So we would appreciate everything. Again, I'm not asking. Everybody's already been really generous. And then also, what I wanted to say is that if you're local, I don't know how many people listen to this are local. Actually, maybe we'll see. If you live in North County, San Diego area, the Chili's in Vista Village is very generous that they're doing a fundraiser on March 12th and 13th. I believe it's at 7:00. Let me double check that real quick. Oh, I'm sorry. It's all day. I
thought it was what day is it?
It's Tuesday, March 12th, Wednesday, March 13th, which is next week. 11 a.m. to 10:30, which is their operating hours. So that's, when you go there, if you tell them that you're for the fundraiser, or if you bring a flyer or show the flyer on your phone, which again I'll be posting links to. But again, I'm pretty sure if you tell them for the fundraiser, they'll donate 20% of your check. So that also will go into the GoFundMe, and that'll help us out. Also, you get to eat at Chili's, and that was one of the things that somebody brought me when I was in the hospital. So I had a craving for chicken crispers. So if you go there, if you're local, Chili's, 12th and 13th, at any time of the day, bring proof of the flyer or tell them that you're here for Matt Chewy's fundraiser. 20% of the bill goes to that. So again, that's if you want to. I'll probably be there both days for dinner, so maybe I'll run into you. It'd be great. So those are the things I want to talk about. Again, if you want to help, there you go.
Cool. And yeah, we'll have the link to the GoFundMe for sure in the description. So depending on where you're listening to this, if you just look through the description, you'll be able to find the link right there. Make it easy for people.
And I'll post the flyer too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Same thing.
Great. Cool. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm doing all right. I'm feeling all right. I'm being productive, and I'm getting into fighting shape. So I'm getting ready to fight hard. So there you go.
Well, it's kind of an incredible thing, and I don't mean that in necessarily a good way in the term of
just
incredible,
mind-blowing, surprising.
The whole shock and everything of it, as someone who is kind of a member of our extended member of our family, to kind of have that happen is hard to take. But I know we're all, like I said at the beginning, we're all here supporting you and kind of doing whatever we can. And I'm glad you were willing to talk about it. I think it's pretty awesome that you are doing so well. And so just like Vince was saying, it's inspiring how upbeat's not even the right word for it. Just so full of, I don't know, energy.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, that's what's going to help me. I think that's going to be my biggest ally here. So I got to keep it up. There you go.
Yeah, man. Hanging out with you today, it was the same as any normal hangout. In fact, I think you ate tacos faster today than I've ever seen you eat tacos.
Oh my gosh, yeah. We had some great street tacos today. But also I made you move boxes around my house, so I'm sorry about
That's
that.
true.
I
got hungry.
I let you watch me play Breath of the Wild for 20 minutes, and then and thanks for putting up with that. Thanks for driving down to my house to do my manual labor. I didn't plan that. I promise you I didn't plan that. I didn't even buy his I should have bought his tacos for doing that, but I didn't know. I didn't know I was going to make him do that afterward. All right. Well, this got a little long, so we'll probably wrap this up. I do want to say that we normally, like we said earlier, we normally review movies and stuff like that. So we're going to have an episode really shortly after this on the Lego Movie 2. So if you want to check out our normal podcast or go back and check our older ones, you can kind of see what our normal deal is here. So, I can't attest to the quality.
We're not guaranteeing any level of quality or anything, so don't expect them.
If you're a person,
you can just guarantee that usually the episodes are not about medical things.
No, if you're a person that likes to listen to nerds talk overanalyze like nerdy movies, then this is right up your alley. You should check out the rest of our content. If not, maybe not. I don't know. Up to you.
Yeah.
Yum Chunks is defined as the distinct lack of quality.
Oh, come now. That's not... Yeah. Oh. All right.
Well, but we are thankful for everyone who did tune in, even if you're not regular listeners. Thank you so much. And thanks, Matt, for... I said it before, but thanks again for just sharing everything and walking us through this whole thing. I think for me, it just is... I don't know. It makes me feel better hearing it from you.
Mm-hmm.
Like... I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I know in my mind it just kind of helps kind of come to terms with everything and just kind of deal with it. So I hope everyone out there who's listening kind of feels similarly and is willing to support and reach out and be behind you every step of the way.
Well, I definitely feel supported, and podcasting with you guys is one of my favorite pastimes. So all this does is help me. So I'm glad to share the story.
Awesome.
All right.
Cool. Well, thanks again, everyone. We appreciate you tuning in and look forward to Lego Movie 2, and we'll probably talk about Captain Marvel. So you got to be in fighting shape for all these movies coming out.
Exactly.
I
am. I'm ready.
Strong.
All right. Cool. So that's that.
Cool. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night. Bye.
Bye.
This has been
After the credits.
a Young Chunks podcast.